It is a very exciting edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull. It is Wednesday, December 7th, 2022, and I'm actually not going to talk about the Browns today. I'm sorry if that's all you care about, and I talk about the Browns plenty, obviously, but there are three big and interesting topics to talk about today that have nothing to do with the Browns. We'll get back to the Browns tomorrow. The Cavs beat the Lakers, an exciting game here in Cleveland to improve to 11-1 at home. The Cleveland Guardians have taken a dive into the free agent pool for the first time in a few years to sign veteran first baseman Josh Bell. And Baker Mayfield, this is Browns adjacent, has been claimed on waivers by the Los Angeles, I was going to say St. Louis. That's why I had to pause there for a second. I was going to say the St. Louis Rams with the Los Angeles Rams. That's all coming up on a Wednesday bullpen right here with Adam the Bull.
Podcast is not for the faint of heart.
And I do think it's time for the Browns to move on.
It's not for those who ride the fence.
He's proven nothing.
But if you're looking for someone who tells it like it is about Cleveland sports,
everybody does fandom their way.
You've come to the right place.
I don't think he's any good.
It's time for the Bullpen with Adam the Bull.
All right, let's get it going. Let's get it cooking. Let's start with some baseball. I'll get to the Cavaliers. I'll get to Baker Mayfield in a second. But let's start with the Guardians. I'm very excited about this. The Cleveland Guardians obviously had a magnificent 2022 season that we were all excited about. Obviously, it ended in disappointment as they blew a 2-1 lead to the dreaded Yankees, who also this morning re-signed Aaron Judge to a 9-year, $360 million contract, $40 million a year. Crazy. It'll be a disaster the last few years, but the Yankees have unlimited funds, so unfortunately they can do that, and it won't screw them completely over. I was hoping he'd go to the Giants. There was a report this morning he might go to the Padres, but in the end, not a surprise, he does go back to the Yankees. Anybody who thought that he was going to leave there because of booing, that was pretty silly to think that he would leave because he was booed in the postseason, whether you think that's stupid or not. As far as the Guardians, they have signed Josh Bell, and I've talked about Josh Bell a couple of times here on the podcast. I'm not a huge Josh Bell guy, don't love Josh Bell, but I like Josh Bell, and it is a significant upgrade. Think about it. When you talk about the first base in DH, you know, leaving out the other young guys who haven't made an impact yet, at first base in DH, for the most part, it was Owen Miller and Josh Naylor playing those positions. You had other guys in the mix, but those were the two key guys. Owen Miller couldn't hit a lick, and Josh Naylor, while really good against righties, can't hit lefties. So that was a major problem. Now, Josh Bell is not a perfect player. He's not really any better than Josh Naylor at first base. It is his natural position, but he is not good in the field. They have not really upgraded defensively. However, one thing he does really well that the Guardians don't really have is power. He is a big-time slugger. Now, he struggled when he went to San Diego. He played most of the two-thirds of last season with the Washington Nationals, and he had a good first two-thirds of the season. He then went to San Diego in a trade deadline deal, and he struggled in San Diego, struggled mightily, didn't even only hit 3 home runs and 210 trips to the plate. But consistently, this guy has been a good source of power at 14 home runs and 437 plate appearances with the Nationals in 2022. In the 2021 season, he had 27 homers for the Nats. In the COVID-shortened 2020 season, he didn't have a great year that year. It was okay, but the 37 home runs for the Pirates and an All-Star in 2019. He had 26 home runs for the Pirates in 2017. He's been an inconsistent player. He's not a perfect player, but he's definitely an upgrade from what they had. If you go from Josh Bell to Owen Miller, I mean, that's a significant upgrade. He's been an All-Star once. He won a Silver Slugger award last year, believe it or not, even though he had a terrible season for the Padres, as I mentioned, in the back third of the year. But he did really well the first half of the season, had an 877 OPS with the Nats, and you hope that the Padres is just an anomaly. It's a 2-year contract for $35 million. But if he has a good season, it'll end up being a 1-year contract. He does have an opt-out. He turned 30 years old this past summer, so he's still, fine in terms of age. They will have him for his age 31 season. He'll be 30 for most of next season, and then possibly for a second year. If he has a bad year, he'll be here 2 years. You'd rather him be here 1 year because that means he had a great year. If he has a great year, he opts out, so be it. He got you a great year. So, like the move, like that the Guardians finally brought in a free agent, for significant money for the first time in a number of years. I think it's a great start to the free agency hot stove season, and a lot of work to be done still. But less than most teams, which is good news. Now, I still think the Guardians need to. We know they need to address catcher. Obviously, that's been talked about quite a bit. We've talked about Sean Murphy. There's been a lot of rumors about where he's going to end up, and I think the catching market is on hold until Sean Murphy gets traded. Sean Murphy is the best. Now, Wilson Contreras, who's the biggest free agent catcher, is a better hitter than Sean Murphy. But Murphy is the most desirable catcher because, A, he's under team control for 3 years, whereas Contreras, you're going to have to sign him to probably a 5-6 year deal at a lot more money than Murphy's going to make. Number 2, Murphy's significantly better than Contreras in terms of defense. So while they may be, overall kind of equal, maybe even Contreras a little better because he's going to have to sign a longer contract or likely to sign a longer contract and more money, Murphy is the most desirable guy in the catching market. So I think in terms of what's going to happen, and Contreras is not in play for the Guardians anyway, they're not signing him, but in terms of Christian Vasquez, who's a free agent, a catcher, in terms of maybe one of the catchers from the Blue Jays, I think everything else is kind of on hold until the Athletics decide what to do with Sean Murphy. They will likely trade him, and there's been a lot of rumors that they would trade him this week. We shall see. Today is the last day of the I can't remember if today's the last day of the winter meetings or it's tomorrow now. I can't remember the time frame. It's whenever the Rule 5 draft is. That's the last day. Winter meetings calendar. Yesterday they did the draft lottery for the first time. In Major League Baseball, obviously the Guardians weren't in it because they made the playoffs. Let's see. When is the last day of the winter meetings? December. Rule 5 draft is today. So today's the last day of the winter meetings. So there you go. So they got to address catcher. Murphy's the top choice. Alejandro Kirk's a guy I actually like a lot, and I'd go after him, but he's going to cost a fortune because he's got 5 years of team control. He can slug, he can hit, he's a good defensive player, not as good as Murphy, but good. But anyway, I think Murphy's the more likely target, and we'll see if the Guardians can do it. Beyond that, there's 2 other things I'd like to see the Guardians do. I'd like them to get another player, first base DH type, preferably a guy who's a good defensive first baseman, but I could live with just another Josh Bell, Josh Naylor type, even a guy who plays a little outfield, that can crush lefties. The Guardians need that extra bat, pinch hitter / part-time player to platoon with Naylor. You can't play Naylor against lefties. He can't hit lefties at all. That's not going to change. It's deep enough into his career. He is a total liability against lefties. So they need someone basically to platoon with Naylor. Bell's going to play Bell will play, if he's healthy, 140, 150 games. And then, you'll have Naylor playing, 110, 120 games. And you need another corner guy / DH to play about 50, 60 games. Start against lefties, come off the bench. In a perfect world, somebody who can play good first base defense that maybe you'd bring in late. You don't see that at first base a lot, but it would be smart considering neither Bell nor Naylor are good defensively. So they need a guy who just can hit lefties. I don't care what he does against righties. I got plenty of guys that can hit righties. I need a guy that can hit and preferably hit for some power against lefties. So, let's see if they can find somebody like that. One other thing, this is a bonus, not absolutely necessary. I'd like to see the Guardians go sign a veteran starting pitcher, even if it's a 1-year type of deal, like a Wade Miley or a Corey Kluber, or you bring him back, or a guy of that ilk, where I can sign 1 year $10 million, 1 year 12, 1 year 8, something like that. Just a veteran to have in the middle of the rotation. I think that would help. Because I don't think you can't trust Zavala, you can't trust Plesac. And so I think they could use one more veteran guy who you trust if you're in the playoffs, third or fourth starter that you're comfortable throwing out there. So I'd like to see them go do that too. That's lowest priority. I even wouldn't mind them adding another veteran to the bullpen. But these are just extra things. The most important thing next is to get the catcher. Then go for the slugger who can hit lefties. And then the next thing for me on the to-do list would be the starting pitcher. Again, I'm not asking for an ace, some middle-of-the-rotation guy who I can get on a one-year deal. There'll be guys like that out there. Hopefully they'll grab one of those too. All right. Oh, man. So let me take a break. And when I come back, I'm going to switch gears to the Cavaliers because that game was fun. And by the way, well, I'll get to it in a minute. Cavs beat the Lakers. We'll talk about that coming up. BetOnline.net, your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports. We've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right. Last night, Cleveland Cavaliers, exciting game. And no offense to the local broadcasters on TV, but there's something special when the game's on TNT. And, they didn't even have their top team calling the game. But, you have Barkley and Shaq and those guys talking about the Cavs, talking about them. I missed the halftime show, unfortunately. But I don't know. I prefer the game on TNT, even ESPN, but especially on TNT. The Cavs with a nice victory against the Laker team that was playing well. I know Anthony Davis left the game after 8 minutes. He had been a non-factor in those 8 minutes. He had 1 point and hadn't taken a shot, which was odd. But yeah, and obviously it made a huge difference. You'll never know. I mean, the Cavs might have lost the game. However, they still had LeBron, and the Cavs win at 116-102. The crowd was into it, obviously. Very exciting. Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, who did not shoot the ball well in Sunday's game against the Knicks, both shot it well. Both shot it very well. Darius Garland couldn't knock down his threes. He was actually 1 of 6 from 3, but he hit everything else. He was 7 of 12 from the field besides threes, and Donovan Mitchell just had a night of nights. Right, he was 17 of 27 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3, 43 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. He had a great game. Jared Allen was fantastic, 11 of 14. I don't even remember him missing the 3 shots that he missed. Had a great first half, 24 points overall. Cavs only had 3 players score more than 7 in this game, which is really, really odd. They win a game where only 3 players scored more than 7. That's because Garland, Mitchell, and Allen combined to score 88 points. And the rest of the team combined to score 28 points. Karis LeVert had 7. Mobley had 7, but he did have 12 rebounds. And they played well defensively. That was cool when Jared Allen blocked LeBron's shot earlier and he got punched in the face. It wasn't cool that he got punched in the face, but it was nice. Great pass by Donovan Mitchell to hit Jetty Osman there in the first. Was it the first half? No, I can't remember when it was. And that no look pass when Jetty got the easy basket. I don't know. It was a really fun game to watch. It was a really good effort by the Cavaliers. On today's Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, we're going to talk obviously about the Browns, but we're also going to talk about the Cavs today. Our man Mike Luke said, where does Mitchell's game rank among the best Cavs individual performances you can remember? Which is a tough question. Obviously, that's not near the top. I mean, there's been some LeBron. There's been a million LeBron ones. As much as I Can't stand Kyrie now. He's had an amazing game. Remember, he had that 55 game, of course, plus all the playoff games. I mean, although did Mike say regular season only? Those individual performances. I don't know. But it was a great performance, and I think we're going to see a lot of great performances like this from Donovan Mitchell, from Darius Garland as well. Garland, by the way, had 11 assists in this game, which is good to see, and only one turnover because he's had a lot of turnovers last couple games, but good to see that. Overall, Cavs with 25 assists and only 7 turnovers in this game, which was very impressive. So it was good. Obviously, it made a huge difference having Jared Allen back in the lineup, and it made a huge difference not having Anthony Davis for the Lakers after the first 8 minutes. He had flu-like symptoms. Hopefully, the Cavs, who have been a mash unit, will not catch anything from Anthony Davis. He'd been playing, obviously, ridiculously well of late at like 40-something against the Bucks, had 55, I think, in his last game, and 17 rebounds against, I can't remember where they played, Toronto or Detroit or something, whatever. But anyway, good win for the Cavs. And, not surprisingly for a young team, they've been a totally different team home and away. They're 11-1 now at home, and they are 5-8 on the road. Now, obviously, yeah, you want to see them get better on the road, be at least a 500 team on the road. I think they'll get there. I'm not overly concerned about it, but they've been so good at home. They have the best home record in all of the NBA, 11-1. Celtics are 11-2 at home. The Bucks are 11-3 at home. The Suns are 12-2 at home. But the Cavs 11-1, and they, for what it's worth, 25 games in, they remain third in the Eastern Conference. And after their 8-1 start, now they're 8-8. But they lost 5 in a row, so they're overall playing better. But at home, that's been their strength. I think it will continue to be. They have 2 more home games before they go back on the road again. They're playing 2 teams that are actually playing some pretty decent basketball. You don't think of either of these teams as any good, but Sacramento, especially, who they play, they got a nice rest here, a couple days off. They play Sacramento, then they have a back-to-back with Sacramento and Sacramento and Oklahoma City, Friday and Saturday. Oklahoma City's not a very good team, but they do have, they are on a 3-game winning streak, and they do have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's been, phenomenal this year. And but Sacramento has played really well, so that'll be an interesting game. They're a playoff team right now, which obviously nobody expected, and it's early, but these games aren't maybe as easy as you would have thought. And so and then they go on the road to make a Dallas or a Texas road trip Monday in San Antonio and Wednesday in Dallas. So they get 3 days off 2 days off in a row, and then they play 2 games in a row in 3 out of 4 days before they come back for another. After the 2 road games, they actually have a really long homestand where they play 6 straight at home: Indiana, Dallas, Utah, Milwaukee, Toronto, Brooklyn. That is a nice homestand to really show you where the Cavs are at, because Cavs have been great at home, but they're playing some really good teams during that stretch. So that should be a lot of fun. So got to be happy with the Cavs' performance. Am I in the minority here? Tweet at me and let me know when you watch the podcast, listen to the podcast. Am I in the minority about kind of preferring when the game's on TNT? I just like the coverage better. It just feels big time when it's on TNT. I just think you get kind of better analysis, and I like Stan Van Gundy. I do like him as an analyst, and everybody's pretty positive about the Cavs right now. I think there's a lot of reason to be. As I said yesterday, I believe it was, we got so high from that 8-game winning streak to start the season that their record felt like a disappointment. But again, I mean, the Cavs have the 6th best record in the league. Nobody would have thought they'd be this good this soon. So even though they've had some ups and downs lately, I think you got to be really excited about where they're at. Now, ultimately, all that matters is winning in the postseason. The regular season in the NBA is just the preseason for the playoffs. I mean, that's really all it is. But if the Cavs can stay in that top, 4, and certainly you'd prefer them to stay in the top 3, then you get, you get at least home court advantage in one round. It's going to be hard to get ahead of the Celtics or the Bucks, who are the two best teams in the East. And obviously the Cavs have played well against Boston, not against Milwaukee. But if they could stay in that 3 spot, which will not be easy because, obviously the Nets have played better. They've won 7 of 10. You got to figure the Sixers will make a run at some point. Maybe Atlanta. But, I think it's not crazy. Again, long way to go. I'm not saying they only have a 2.5 game lead. That could go away in a couple of weeks. But I think the Cavs do have a reasonable chance, if they stay reasonably healthy, to finish in that 3rd spot. And that would be huge. Because you want to stay ahead of, the Atlantas and Brooklyn and Philadelphia. Because, you play those teams, you want to have home court advantage. So we shall see. All right, take another break. When I come back, we go from baseball to basketball to football. But we're not talking about the Browns. We're talking about a former Cleveland Brown, and that is Baker Mayfield. He's been claimed on waivers. I'll get to that next, right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull. Be right back. All right. Get some water in. Okay. So 2 days ago, the Panthers cut Baker. Apparently he asked for his release. They granted it. He went on waivers, and everybody thought the Niners would pick him up. I didn't see that at all. I didn't expect any contending team to put a claim in on him. The Niners have their system, have their guys. I didn't think they'd want to bring in another quarterback who turns the ball over late in the season, and I was right. Now, maybe if he cleared waivers, became a free agent, maybe there would have been some teams interested that were contenders. We'll never know. But there was one team interested. I did think he'd be claimed on waivers. I said on yesterday's show he'd be claimed on waivers, and I thought it might be the Texans. It was not the Texans, but it was a bad team. It's weird to say it, but it's the LA Rams. And it's weird to say they're bad, but they are bad. That's a bad football team right now. The Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions, will not be going to the playoffs this year. They are the 15 seed in the West right now, and in the NFC, the West. In the NFC, they are 3-9. They are tied with the Broncos for the 3rd worst record in the entire NFL. From Super Bowl champs to tied for the 3rd worst record. You look at the team; they have no running game. Their best receiver, Cooper Kupp, is out, I think, for the year. I don't know that it's officially been confirmed, but he's out. All right. Allen Robinson is a shell of what he used to be. He's not very good. Their leading active receiver is a tight end, Tyler Higbee, who's an okay player. He has 444 yards. Their leading running back is Cam Akers, who has 334 yards. And, they've been starting John Wolford or Bryce Perkins. Now, is Baker better than those guys? He should be. He was. He's a disaster this year. I don't know. They're playing on Thursday Night Football. I can't imagine Baker's going to start tomorrow after just being claimed on waivers yesterday, but I guess you never know. I said yesterday on the show, as much as I've kicked Baker while he's down, I still think there's a possibility that Baker can revive his career somewhere. Sean McVay is a good coach. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. There's not much time left. I don't know that it's going to happen now. And when I say revive his career, I say revive it to the point of where he's Andy Dalton or Jacoby Brissett, maybe a little better than that. I don't know that he could be, I think his ego has gotten in his way. And it's easy, if you want to just write off what I say, because I've been a Baker hater for the last couple of years, that's fine. At this point, I can't stand Baker. I don't care if he has success or not. I honestly, I want him to suck. I'm going to be completely honest. If that wasn't obvious already. But I do think there's a chance he could have a serviceable career. But he's got to put his ego in check. He's got to realize who he is, and that's been part of the problem. The reason Baker Mayfield from 2018 to 2022 through 2021, I haven't added it through this year, but I'm sure it hasn't changed, had more turnovers than any player besides Jared Goff, is because Jacoby Brissett knows who he is. Now, it doesn't mean you don't make mistakes, you do, but he's not trying to do things that are not in his game plan, if you will. And Baker thinks he's a star, and he's not. Baker's a guy. He could be a game manager, but he doesn't like that. His ego won't let him handle that, so he tries to do too much, and that's why he makes mistakes all the time. All the time. And unless he could put that ego in check and humble himself, it's never going to change. If he can do that at some point, which clearly he hasn't, then maybe he's got a shot. It'd be interesting to see if he plays at some point for the Rams. Matthew Stafford's done for the year. The two guys they have, Perkins and Wolford, haven't played well. They haven't done anything in the opportunities they've been given. Wolford's a little banged up this week, so we'll see. But I think Baker will probably get a game at some point, at least one game before the end of the year. I know there were some reports that he might play Thursday. Maybe. I just find that hard to believe that Sean McVay is going to get, like, when did he get to L.A.? What's he going to practice today? They're not going to even have a regular practice because they have a game tomorrow. So I just don't see how that's possible. But does it suck that the Rams are on Thursday Night Football? Raiders-Rams. Ugh, what a horrible game. Raiders have actually played well since they lost to Jeff Saturday. A lot of people call it Jeff Saturday's Mr. Anti-Analytics. He's been a disaster since he beat the Raiders. And since the Colts beat the Raiders, the Colts have gone 0-3. The Raiders have gone 3-0. So, we'll see. But it's a terrible game. What are the night games this week? That's the Thursday night game. The Sunday night game is Dolphins-Chargers. That's a good game. It's a big game, especially for the Chargers. They need that one. And then the Monday nighter, that sucks too. Patriots-Cardinals. The Cardinals are 1-6 at home. My God. 1-6 at home. Only because their record is bad, but not like they're worse. They're 3-5 on the road. 3-2 on the road. They actually have a winning record on the road. You don't often find a team this late in the season with a winning record on the road and 1-6 at home. That's pretty uncommon. Anyway, that's what it is. All right, tomorrow's podcast, we'll get back to the Browns. We'll look more into the Thursday Night Football game. We'll see if Baker's going to play. And hopefully the Guardians will have more news to report for us as well. Make sure you subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on YouTube. Click the alert bell. You will get an alert every time I do a podcast, every time the show puts out a podcast, every time we do breaking news or a YouTube short, as I did yesterday when the Josh Bell news broke. Or if we have a post-game show, which obviously we do for all the Browns games and other things as well. So make sure you subscribe. Consider becoming a member. $4.99 a month. You get bonus content every day after the show. We do at least 10 minutes of bonus content for people exclusively for members. So if you're not a member, you don't lose any additional content because it's after the show would have been anyway. But if you are a member, you get the bonus content, things we didn't get a chance to talk about in the show, or things we wanted to save for the bonus content for exclusive for our listeners. There's other things as well, but it's $4.99 a month. It's really a good deal for a lot of bonus content. So see if you can do that. And, of course, as always, check out my website, adamthebull.com. If you want me to marry you, I am certified. I'm certified to marry people. I can do that. Or a speaking engagement. If you want me to make a quick video for you, wish somebody congratulations, pick an order for a fantasy league, I can do that at Cameo/AdamTheBull. And, of course, as always, follow me on Twitter, as long as Twitter lasts, at AdamTheBull. Check out the Locked On Browns podcast with G. Bush and Jeff Lloyd as well. Subscribe for that for more Browns content. I will talk to you tomorrow. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull. See ya.